Hey, what's up everybody? In this video tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to create a lifesaver using Fusion 360. Taking a look at it, we can see it's a pretty complex looking candy, just with some of the crazy shapes that are happening. But believe it or not, there's some actually pretty simple geometry that makes this up. So let's just kind of dive in here and take a look at this. So from class, you can remember of when we actually took a lifesaver and just actually cut it in half. And when we did that, this is probably what you were seeing. All right, so taking a look at the profile itself, we can see that it incorporates an ellipse, it incorporates a rectangle, and then this is a revolution. It's going to be a revolve feature. So we're going to need an axis. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to be creating a new design. I'm just going to come out here and work on a work plane. So what we're going to do first is we're going to come up, go into rectangle. It's going to be center rectangle. And what I'm going to do, not on the origin, but to the right of the origin, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just create a rectangle about this size. Okay, I'm now going to start adding my dimensions. So the height of my rectangle, we found out was, what was that, 0.2. Okay, and then we also talked about the width of our rectangle being a distance of about 0.334. Okay, now the issue that we have is that this is off of the origin. It's not a big deal in our case, but I'm going to go ahead and just get that where it needs to be. So I'm going to say the center point here and the origin need to be aligned with a horizontal constraint. Okay, and then now what I'm going to do is come in here and add a dimension. So we need to make sure that our hole size is correct. So I'm going to do that by using dimension from the origin to this edge. And we found out that that was about 0.123. Okay, so that's going to be scooting that over. Okay, so the next part is we're going to come out here, go into create, use ellipse, and we're going to start our ellipse right there at the center point of that rectangle. I'm going to take it over to this edge, and then I'm just going to be bringing this up. So I'm now going to add my dimension to my ellipse, and it's going to be my height dimension. It's going to be the height of my minor axis. This needs to go up a distance of 0.148. Okay, so we have that done. The last thing we need to do is come out here and draw a line starting from the origin. Just take that vertical. You can go up or down, it does not matter. And now we can go ahead and finish up with a sketch. Let's take a look at this from the isometric view. Okay, and now what we're going to do is come out here and we're going to revolve this. So one thing I didn't do was trim this. I mean, we could easily trim it, but you can also go without the trim. But in our case, to keep this from being so sloppy, I'm going to edit that sketch. Let's just come in here and trim this out. So I'm not going to need any of the geometry, okay, that I'm getting rid of here. All right, so it's just going to be a little bit cleaner when we go to revolve, so we won't have to pick so many profiles. Okay, now let's go ahead and finish the sketch. Look at this in the isometric view. Okay, so now we can come up, use revolve. Okay, this is going to be my axis. We can see how that's going to bring that around just like so. Okay, and we're good to go. All right, so the tricky thing on Lifesaver, if you saw this earlier, was, all right, there's actual text on there. Okay, and the text is going to not just be sort of extruded, but it's actually going to be rounded. It's going to go with that face. Okay, and it's going to be like that, okay, all throughout this thing. All right, so jumping back here into my other one I just created, now we need to start kind of setting this up for our text. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to come out here and I'm going to construct a plane. I'm going to be coming over to this surface and picking on it, and then probably turning this to a front or a right side view right now and just pulling up on it. So I'm bringing this up. It's just going to a distance of 0.1. That's going to work perfect for us, okay, because we're going to come back in and do a revolve cut anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK on that. Okay, I'm going to look at this work plane and I'm going to create a new sketch right on that work plane. Okay, so what we have to do is starting from the origin, we're going to place a line. So it's not going to be halfway because actually the text is going to be on top of this arc. All right, so I'm just going to take it probably to just about right here. And just so you have sort of a reference on what that dimension is, looks like it's going to be like something like 0.44. Okay, all right, so once I have that, I'm going to draw a vertical line up. I'm going to use that here in just a second to do some trimming. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is just draw a line. So I'm just kind of eyeballing the actual lifesaver itself, and I can see that my L, approximately goes someplace over here. Okay, and then my E for life is going to be the same sort of position on the right-hand side. So I'm going to come up here and use mirror. I'm going to grab this line. I'm going to hit select for my mirror line. That's my mirror line. I say okay, and now it's over on this side. All right, so when taking a look at the bottom where it says savers for lifesavers, it's going to be just above sort of a flat line, okay, imaginary line going right through the center of this lifesaver. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to bring this up to approximately here. Okay, and now I can use mirror, grab this line, come over to my mirror line to select, and then grab the actual mirror line and say okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is come out here and I'm going to do a trim. I'm just going to trim out this piece of geometry and this piece of geometry. Okay, I no longer need that line or this line, or this line. So I have two arcs that I can use. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, go to create, find my text, and you're going to see the second option is text on a path. I'm going to go ahead and pick on this path. I'm going to come here where it says sample text. I'm just going to type in life all in caps. Now, the issue I can see right now is it's throwing it beneath that line. Okay, that's where this placement feature is going to come in kind of handy. All right, the other issue I'm seeing right now is it's fitting it to that path. I'm going to go ahead and just uncheck that just to spread things out, and now we can see that life goes on there pretty well. The height that I'm using for this is 0.16. Okay, I've also bolded this, and it looks like this is in Arial font. This is going to work great. I'm going to go ahead and just say okay. All right, so life is on there. I'm now going to come up and go to create again, and I'm going to use my text. I'm going to be picking on this path. Okay, and now we can see that sample text is getting all jumbled up. So I'm going to go ahead and type in savers. Now the issue this time is it's above the line when I actually want to be below the line. Okay, the other issue I'm running into is that it's getting awfully close to life up there. So now I can come down and pick on fit to path, and it's going to scrunch that together a little bit better. Okay, it's looking pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and say okay. All right, so now at this point, I can go ahead and finish my sketch. All right, so I have that text that's just kind of floating over the top of my actual lifesaver. So I'm going to go to Extrude. I'm going to pick on this text, and now I'm going to go ahead and say I want this to be a join, and I can pull this down. Okay, we don't have to bring this down very far, just as long as it goes into the next face. Okay, I'm liking how that looks, so I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Yeah, I have no idea what Fusion was doing there. I got a little confused. So what I had to do was, well, let's just do it again. I'm going to say do an extrude, this and this. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down, and it's going to be acting like a cut first. Obviously, I don't want that to be a cut, but as soon as I switch this over to join, it's going to clean that up and say, okay, there's no issues now. I have no idea why I did that, but we're good now. All right, so the issue is that the text is really raised way too much. I mean, if you look at an actual lifesaver, it's only raised just a little bit off of the surface that's planted on. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come over to Origin, turn that on, and now I can see these three work planes are out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch on this work plane. Okay, now I'm going to come over here and pick on Slice, and it's going to take me back to that work plane. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in here and start projecting some geometry that I can use. Okay, so I'm going to come down, find Project, and I'm just going to come out here and see if I can't find some particular points here. Maybe see if I can even project that arch over. Okay, now I'm going to come up here. Before I get out of here, I do want to project one more thing. I definitely need to know where this edge is. I'm going to say okay. So I think we've got everything that we need. Okay, so now I'm going to go down and go to create, go to ellipse. I'm going to start from my center point. I'm going to bring this all the way over to the edge. Let's see if I can get that to track. There it goes. And now I'm going to bring this up here. But, okay, obviously I didn't project geometry on the top, but I did it down here at the bottom. I can actually go to this point right here, and I can create that ellipse. Okay, so the best thing I can do is use offset, and I can come in and I can pick on that ellipse that I just created. Now I can use this slider and I can bring this out, bring it in as far as I want. And remember, this text is only raised just a little bit, okay, above that surface. Okay, so I'm just bringing it out just a little bit. So in my case, it's saying that that is out there, 0.011. I'm just going to say that's 0.01. I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is starting here, okay, I'm going to create a rectangle. I don't want to go all the way to the center. I'm just going to start here, and I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm just going to be making a large box, a rectangle. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in here and trim out what I don't need. I don't need this part of the ellipse. I don't need this little section. I'm now going to come over here. I don't need this part of that section. Okay, and I think I'm pretty good to go. Now using line command, I can start from the origin, take this vertical straight up, and I'm going to go ahead and just finish the sketch. So this looks really awkward, okay, but the thing is it's going to work great, and you'll see why in just a minute. Now what I'm going to do is go to revolve. I'm going to be picking on that profile I just created. I'm going to come over here and hit select for axis and then actually pick that vertical axis. So that's going to bring that around, make sure it's a cutting operation, and I'm going to go ahead and just say okay. Okay, and now we can see that that text is completely rounded over with that surface. There's nothing on the backside. All right, and that looks like an actual lifesaver. So there you go. That's how you're going to be creating that lifesaver for this project. At this point, obviously, we can now come out here and say, this is our lifesaver candy. All right, we can save that up and you're done.